Good afternoon, guys. Here we are, live from the Phastek studios, and as you can see, I got a familiar face with me.
Hey guys.
He hasn't been here in a while, but I'm bringing him back in because we got something that's a little sensitive to kind of talk about, I would say, in a way.
I think one of the last times I was on, we talked about warranties.
Yeah.
And that's what we're discussing today, basically, with you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of new owners out there, and we kind of see you guys in the different groups, and it's always kind of been something that's always kind of come up. It's always been active, because as new owners, you guys really don't you might not understand, or you might want to be educated a little bit more before you start modifying the car, and rightfully so, because that is one thing that does play a factor into, obviously, owning the Camaro. You bought a Camaro, you bought the muscle car because you wanted the muscle car, whether it be for sound, whether it be for looks, whether it be for power, I mean, anything. So having your warranty basically starting off fresh and brand new, well then, hey, that kind of plays a factor into things. So you want to make sure that you got everything lined up, you got a good understanding of what you're covered based off of what you might do. So, and I mean, you have that year warranty starting off with 3-year 36 if you didn't buy the extended one.
True, that is true.
So,
and the thing is, a lot of guys that will buy Camaros, we'll call it a muscle car. They're going to buy a muscle car, sports car, whatever. I'm going to say 60% of those guys are going to modify that car. It's going to be modified beyond stock, which that's a pretty good number right there for car owners. I could be wrong, but I'm going to say 60%.
Definitely, and you know, like we said, I mean, you guys have jumped in on the groups, you've talked about it, you're asking questions, and we figured, why not? We kind of created a little game plan here that kind of, we broke it down by categories to really kind of understand everything. And what we're also going to do is what he's messing with right now is obviously he's trying to get you guys pulled up, because what we also want to do is and maybe answer some questions for you from you guys that you guys might have live, and you want to know what's going on with my specific application that might be thinking about. You know, I might, you know, hey, I want to venture into a supercharger. Okay, well, let's talk about that. I have it here, but if you're asking the question, I want to answer it. So he's gonna get you guys dialed in. He's got you all pulled up, so that way we can get your answered live. We've got some time here, so obviously we're gonna go ahead and let's just go ahead and get started and work our way down the list. Again, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and jump in. We'd be more than happy to answer them as best as we can. You know, there's a few other things besides products that we're going to also kind of go over, but really jumping into it, some of the first things that really we created here was like intake systems. Okay, and we don't mean the ones that sit on top of the motor. No, those are intake manifolds. That's a whole different section here. But like intake manifolds is different from like a cold air intake. You know, so a cold air intake is basically something that's just going to allow you to get that little whistle noise and really kind of go from there. But Jason, I mean, you want to kind of kick it off with intake?
So air intakes, basically, guys, is what you're going to find out. Let's talk. Well, I guess we can go back to actually air filters. I can't get them pulled up.
Okay, let's get them on your phone. No problem.
But you know, we're talking about warranties. What's going to void your warranty? What's not going to void your warranty? Most of the time, you can start out with something like a simple air filter. That's not going to void your warranty. An air intake is basically replacing your factory air box and your factory tube that goes to your throttle body that picks up the air. That generally is not going to void your warranty when it comes to adding that to your vehicle. I've heard stories where people said, hey, look, that voided my warranty. That really has a lot to do with the dealership that you've chosen, and if they're just looking for a reason to void your warranty. Generally, though, if you have a problem with your vehicle and you added an air intake, it's going to be 99.9% that air intake did not cause the issue with your engine or whatever you're having with your Camaro, Corvette, truck, whatever, you know. So
I'm going to back that up, because I mean, an intake system, guys, a lot of engineering goes into these intake systems. Whether you buy a K&N, whether you buy the Rotofab, the cold air inductions, you know, dozens of other brands out there, no matter which one you really buy, it's really there's a lot of engineering that goes into them. You know, so they make sure that they try and have the MAP sensor in the correct location, so that way they don't have a problem for needing a tune, supposedly. You know, an intake system should be bolt on, go, and you're fine. You know, when a dealership says that your intake caused the problem, dealership might be trying to get away from something right there, because it's pretty hard for an intake only, like let's say that a car is bone stock. Other than that, it's pretty hard for an intake only to really kind of cause a rod failure or lifter failure.
So true.
You know, so I mean, it really kind of depends. So if it's something's trying to get away from that, then might be something that you guys want to take a look at. Like he said, might be the dealership. dealerships, they will try and kind of get away with as much as they can. It's the downside of modifying the car in a way, but that's just how they kind of play the game. Yeah,
being in this business for over 20 years, I'll tell you right now, I've seen a lot of dealerships, service guys try to say that an air intake has caused your failure of an engine, which is generally not true. Like if you're throwing a rod, that's not coming from your air intake. I'm gonna tell you right now. You know, we've been around Camaros long enough now to know that, hey, look, if something like that happened, you know, you could try to point it towards a tune or something like that, but like with an air intake, that's not gonna do it unless you drop the bolt inside the air intake as you're installing it and smash between the piston and the cylinder head. That's about it, right?
That's one of those things that's going to happen right away.
Very likely to happen
Almost
because
right
there's
away.
really no hardware that you actually use for the most part when actually installing most air intakes.
Yeah. Most air intakes, guys, if you have a screw missing, you might want to double check for that.
True.
You know, I mean, it goes with anything that you kind of put together. If there's a screw missing or you got an extra one, double check your hardware and make sure that everything's there. But like he said, I mean, that's really kind of the only way an intake is going to kind of fail, you know, and go from there. Same thing, like we have here also non-CARB legal intakes and like intakes with like EO numbers. So like
we know this is not warranty, but it is one of the questions we get when people are looking at order intakes. Yeah. And it's something we just want to talk about today since we have you all here with us now.
Yeah, why not? So like a non-CARB legal intake, basically that just means it didn't pass the smog inspection. So is something like that going to void your warranty? Most likely not. Depending on your county, depending on your state, there are a couple of regulations that, yes, you do have to kind of follow in a way, technically. I mean, but you can technically put the intake on, take it off, you know, go get it serviced from there. So it just depends on how you want to kind of play the system, you know. But a CARB legal intake and a non-CARB legal intake, they're really going to act the same as far as on the vehicle. It's just whether or not the CARB legal intake has the EO number to go along with it. And the EO number plays a whole nother game. Jason, I mean, you know a little bit more about the EO numbers than I do.
So EO number is basically something like, I'll give you for example, in California, it's CARB, it's basically CARB, right? California Air Research Board basically says, hey, look, for you to use this aftermarket air intake in our state, you have to have an EO number, which basically means that you have to submit your product to the state. They have to review it, make sure it passes their qualifications, so that way they can give you an EO number. A lot of them will fail in a state like California. Okay, that's just you know, that just happens sometimes. But some do go through. Like you'll look on our website and you'll see that products say we can't sell this product in California, but then you'll see some that don't have it at all. Majority of the Camaro ones are going to be not CARB legal. Trucks, they'll have some. Corvette, came across one this morning. It was an air raid. It's a 251 274 part number, and it's a C7 Corvette, and it's got an EO number from air raid, and it's good to go. We can sell that all day long. In California, you don't have to worry about anything. You bolt it right on. It's going to give you some power, and you're moving on with that. Simple deal.
There you go. Another thing that kind of add, the only thing I kind of know about the EO numbers, that they are kind of model specific. So if you do see one on the website and you might say, well, how come it only says 10 to 13, you know, but the 14, 15 are the exact same thing? Well, that's because the EO number unfortunately only went to 13. So the EO numbers do have to be updated. So whether or not the manufacturer did that or not, it's hard to say. It's hard for us to know without contacting the manufacturer. We just go based off their number. So it's one thing that also kind of plays a factor into those CARB legal intakes. So something also kind of pay attention to.
True. Yep.
So
moving on.
Exhaust systems. You know, this is a hot topic because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, the sound of your Camaro justifies how you like to drive, right? I mean, I know you put an exhaust system on a car, you're going to kind of give it a little more throttle once in a while.
Look, you got a muscle car, you want to hear it.
Yes.
I mean, let's just get right down to it.
You
got a muscle car, you want to hear it. And an exhaust is probably one of the first options of modifications you're going to do to it.
Let's go over that then. Yeah. So if it's one of the first things that you guys are going to do, and I know we kind of start the same way anytime we do a build, whether it's, you know, either car we have, truck, anything, it's always typically an exhaust system is first. Now, for your exhaust systems, you have axle back and you have cat backs. Okay, two different things right there. Okay, axle backs, for those of you that don't know or might be wondering, an axle back typically starts from the rear wheels to the tips. Okay, and so that's going to cover your axle back. Your cat back is going to go from basically where you sit, where your feet are planted on the floorboard, where your feet sit right there is typically the starting point of a cat back system, and then it goes all the way back to the tips. So it just depends from there. Now, as far as warranty, what does that do for your warranty? An axle back system typically is going to kind of be looked the other way because that's a mufflers, it's at the end of everything, and it really kind of goes from there. Now, is it going to void your warranty? Again, it's up to the dealer.
Most likely it's not going to.
No.
Because you got to think about this. The dealership will sell you an axle back when you pick up your car. They have their own.
They have the accessories.
So,
Chevrolet accessories. I mean, the Chevrolet, I mean, the manufacturer makes an axle back. Why can't you put a Flowmaster system on it, an MBRP system? You know, why can't you put one of those? What makes theirs different from another manufacturer? It's kind of how I see it. I mean, that's a good point.
Most likely an axle back, and that's what's nice about an axle back. It doesn't really, you're not going to run into any issues putting an axle back on, interfering with anything from the converter's back. So the axle back is always your safe bet when doing an exhaust system. But you're limited. You're limited on the fact that the factory exhaust has resonators built into it, and on some of them. So then you're not getting the full effect, and that's generally why you're going to choose a cat back if you're putting on a stock vehicle, basically.
Yeah, if you're wanting something that's just going to kind of simply upgrade the sound, you don't want something that's full bore, maybe you're not a performance guy, but you do have this muscle car and you want a different sound, well then an axle back is probably kind of your way to go. If you're a performance guy and you want everything, every last bit of horsepower you can kind of get out of it, then a cat back might be the way to go. And like he said, the sound differences are going to be, very minimal, but it just depends on what you want out of the car.
True.
So yeah, axle back, cat back, you're most likely pretty safe with an axle back, no problems. Like you said, it doesn't really affect anything. It's at the back half of the car, so what could possibly happen when you throw a rod? What makes you think the rod I threw, caused that, by the axle back? It's not going to happen. Same thing with a cat back. Most likely the cat back is not going to really do anything, allow you to throw a rod or anything like that. So a cat back's not really going to do that, but you do replace the entire exhaust system. So if something happened to, I don't even know what, but let's say something happened to the exhaust and you had to do warranty something. Well, if you put an X pipe and factory mufflers, well, unfortunately, hey, your exhaust system is out of warranty because you modified that portion of the exhaust. It doesn't mean you avoid the entire powertrain.
Right.
So.
Exactly. So while we're still talking about basically exhaust systems, we're going you have a couple other things. You have headers, we have downpipes, and we have the
just high flow cats.
Yeah. So
well, some of them.
Let's talk about headers. Since I mentioned that one first, let's talk about headers.
Go ahead.
Headers.
Go ahead.
Two different types of headers. You have a shorty header, and you have a long tube header. Okay. And when you're going to find that on a shorty header, you're basically replacing the manifold. So let me just grab something real quick since I have it here.
It's a good thing I kept a display over here.
It's kind of heavy.
It's a little dirty. It's
so look. So basically, this is a 5th gen manifold and catalytic converter pipe system factory. Okay. So basically, what you're going to find whenever you add a shorty header to your car is that you're replacing this section to right here, which allows you to keep your factory catalytic converters in place, and you don't have to do any tuning. You'll pick up, I would say roughly, you're going to see like on a 5th gen, you'll see about 10, 15 horsepower.
10, 15, yeah.
And you look at it and go, well, how? Well, the tubing, the way they create the tubing, most of them are going to be 1.75 inch.
It's a little bit bigger diameter than the factory cast.
And they all flow, they'll come out, some of the pipes will come out a little bit farther, and they'll flow right back into the factory catalytic converters. At that point, you're keeping the factory catalytic converters in place, the factory O2s in place, and you're not going to run into tune issues, you're not going to run any check engine lights, but you're also going to pick up power. So shorty header is not a bad way to go.
No.
Just so you know.
It's not. No, it's not. The other way they kind of make power to kind of, elaborate on what Jason said is that they're also, a lot of shorty headers are also, oh man, it's failing me. I just had it in my head right now, but it's failing me. But they're tuned length. So basically they're all kind of the same length. So you might see some that go over here and then do this way and they snake back around. They're kind of tuned that way from from whoever's building it, whether it be JBA, BBK, American Racing, anybody that does them. the way they do that is so that way they can optimize the power out of it, so that way that cylinder's hitting and everything's just flowing smoothly and easily. So it's another way to make power.
Shorty headers, I really have no concerns. And then you'll also find that some of the shorty headers, I want to say like the America Racing ones, I think we have some JVA ones for the 5th gens. Those are all CARB legal.
Yeah.
So generally if it's going to be CARB legal, it's going to be warranty free for the most part. Long tube headers on the other hand, you're looking at going from here to basically all the way to here, depending on what mid pipe you go with. High flow cat would basically be like getting rid of one catalytic converter and having one left on. But you're going from here to here. That is going to be your best benefit as far as picking up horsepower. The header itself is not going to void the warranty.
No.
What's going to void the warranty is the fact that you have to put a tune in your Camaro, Corvette, truck, whatever, to utilize the power that it's going to put out, or the extra flow of air and the power that you're going to gain with it. So you're not, because what happens is you lose a catalytic converter. So basically you're losing catalytic converter efficiency is what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the high flow cat, although the high flow catalytic converters from be it Cook's, Stainless Works, American Racing, although they do the job, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the job that they do, they're just not as efficient as like a factory cat that's dual setup, or be it a single setup on one of these other applications. So it just depends. But they're not as efficient, and they're not gonna do everything that the factory wants it to do in a way. So that's where everything kind of plays into it. And then the tune on top of that, definitely anytime you modify an ECU, it's pretty well.
You modify your ECU, that's the easy out for a service guy to basically say, hey, look, we've ordered your warranty. Perfect case, we've seen it before where Camaro has thrown a rod, okay? They tried to say that it was in the tune. Tune was on the car for 6 months.
Yeah.
It didn't throw one rod because of the tune. It threw the rod because the rod was just bad. Engineers involved, and they pinpointed and said that's exactly what the problem was.
Yeah. So I mean, he's been doing it long enough. I've been doing it long enough that we know if a rod's going to be thrown, it's going to happen pretty quick.
Pretty quick, man.
It's not one of those things that's going to last a long time. It's not one of those things that's going to, hey, I'm going to sit around and run it for a year, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere I'm cruising 30 miles an hour and then a rod just goes.
Yeah.
No, you're a couple of things. You're bouncing off the rev limiter, okay, or you're just really hot dogging the car. You're doing donuts, you're burning out. I mean, whatever you're doing, and you're just sitting there idling. That engine's just developing heat. So it's also what happens and plays a factor into it. But the fact that a tune might throw the rod, like I said, if that's the case, it's gonna happen pretty quick.
Mike says headers increase power regardless of a tune. That is correct.
Yes.
They do, but you're gonna get a check engine light.
Yes.
So that's the drawback. You're going to get a check engine light.
It's just going to happen. I mean, we've come across it so many times over the years. I mean, 5th gen, 6th gen, V6, Turbo 4, V8, ZL1, any application you want to throw it into in Camaro, Corvette included, truck included, anytime you guys do set headers where you change the flow dynamics of the catalytic converter and what that sensor's reading, it's going to just toss it out.
I mean, but really to utilize, to get everything out of the header, you need a tune. Yeah. Yeah, because you got air coming in, you got air going out. You're changing the characteristics of the engine. You do need a tune on top of adding that, just so you know.
Definitely.
On that.
Downpipes, we kind of, same thing on downpipes. If it's a high flow catted, it's very kind of similar.
Downpipe is going to be for you 2.0 guys.
Yeah, you do 2.0 guys and the V6 guys.
V6 guys, yes.
Well, you 10 to 11 V6, BBK has a set of headers for you guys, but that goes into the header category that we just finished talking about. But the downpipes, same thing. Really kind of, if you guys really want to put it simple, anytime you think about modifying the factory catalytic converter, whether it be swapping it out, cutting the factory catalytic converter and putting a straight pipe in it, what have you, anytime you touch that catalytic converter from the factory, typically your warranty is going to kind of be tossed with it. So it's something to kind of keep in mind as far as your warranty is pertaining. Any downpipe, long tube header, really kind of goes from there. So it's something to kind of, shorty, you can adapt to, no problem. Shorty headers, not a problem. But that's if you keep the factory catalytic converter. So something to think about. So let's see, moving on here. Let's see. Next, I got. Let's see. Let's kind of stick with performance since we're still kind of talking about it. I'm going to skip the other two I have here. Performance products. So, performance products is kind of a wide range when it comes to different things. You know, it's intake manifolds, camshafts, superchargers that are non-factory superchargers, throttle bodies, and pulleys for those guys that have the factory supercharger. ZL1 guys mainly. So performance, an intake manifold, Jason. Let them know what an intake manifold does and how it kind of works.
Okay, depending on the intake manifold style you go with. Anyways, an intake manifold, what we consider an intake manifold, is taking that big plastic tubular looking thing that goes back and forth on the top of your engine off and replacing it. For your 5th gen guys, intake would be something like the Holley Sniper, it would be the
Fast 102.
Yeah, the Fast. 6th gen guys, the Atomic. Rolling it with something like that, are you going to avoid a warranty? Most likely, and the reason why is because you had to tune it to get that thing to actually work.
Yeah.
So that's something you have to look at. It's like, yeah, if I put an intake on it, will it avoid my warranty?
Most likely.
Most likely. You removed a component of the engine and you placed it with something new, and that will very well get you
out the door.
Out the door.
Out the door.
Right or wrong, they're going to fight you on it.
Yeah. And the other thing to kind of add to what he said, yeah, you're going to need a tune and everything to kind of fix it and make sure it operates correctly. But what you also did was that you opened up that engine.
Yeah.
Okay, you opened up that engine, so that immediately says, hey, there's something in here that wasn't factory. So unfortunately, the powertrain out the door along with that tune, and it's just kind of snowballs into there. Now, don't get me wrong, performance-wise, I mean, now is an intake manifold going to avoid something with a brake problem? No. You're still covered on your brakes. Your brakes and suspension, you're still covered because you didn't modify anything there. Now, unless you did. Okay, if you did, hey. But the intake manifold voids basically your powertrain, your engine, you know, stuff like that. All those components that go along with it. That's what an intake manifold will basically void.
Yeah.
Like I said, your brakes, suspension, interior. You got a squeaking noise. You got something rattling in the back. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That should still be covered under warranty. So it's definitely something to kind of think about.
It is.
Same thing going along with performance products, camshafts. You love the sound. I love the sound. He loves the sound. I can't wait to put one in this car. But yeah, that's the same thing. It's kind of like the intake manifold. It's you're opening up the engine. It's one thing that you got to heavily take stuff apart. You L99 guys, the cylinder heads most likely have to come off if you're doing a whole conversion. You LS3 guys, you got to get the lifters up out of the way. LT1 guys, same thing. You guys got to do all that same work, and everything's just kind of being modified from there. So if you put a cam in it and you're still kind of wanting your warranty, only expect to have the warranty in your suspension, your brakes, your interior. That's really kind of all that's going to be covered. Powertrain, out the door. Because to get that camshaft to work, you also do have to tune it. So
yeah, you broke open the engine. You're in there. You're taking out stuff that they put in there from the factory and replacing it. And you know, most of you, the guys with the 5th gens, you're not worried about that anyways at this point because you don't have a warranty most of the time.
No.
At this point, you're 10 years, 11 years in.
Was it 15? Even if you had bought the extended a 5-year warranty, I mean, we're kind of at that tipping point where you might be either right on the edge of saying goodbye to it on its own, or it's already gone.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, if you bought it late 15, or maybe you bought it 16 as a good deal, the dealer's trying to unload it. Good job on getting a 15 for a good price if you did. But you're at that point where, hey, my warranty's already kind of out. But really kind of, yeah, that's something to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah.
Moving on, superchargers. And guys, if you have any questions, don't forget to pop in. Let us know. We are looking.
I'll tell you what, Matthew Everett's definitely.
Oh, that guy.
He's active today, aren't you? Hey, Matt.
Yeah. You know, he's completely. If anybody knows who he is, his warranty's gone. If he's worried about warranty, I don't know what he could possibly even go into the dealership and ask for.
Yeah, true. I think he's modded just about everything on his car.
A roll cage, a suspension, engine, transmission, exhaust.
You know,
the
only thing I don't think he's ever talked about is floor mats.
That's the only thing. Probably not. So, superchargers. Obviously, this is non-factory superchargers. You LSA guys and LT4 guys, not talking to you just yet, but you guys that want superchargers, but still kind of want the factory warranty, well, that's going to be another one of those things. You're breaking open that intake manifold, you're installing a supercharger, be it a top mount root style or a centrifugal. You are doing some heavy modifications, and you're actually forcing air into the engine that was not meant to be there from factory. So definitely that is also kind of one of those things where, hey, you're forcing the engine to do something it was not intended for. So your warranty is most likely out the door.
The warranty's gone.
Yeah. Now there are some systems. I don't know if it's still valid. There are some systems.
Edelbrock.
And I don't remember if there's anyone else. I think Edelbrock's pretty good about it.
Edelbrock, I think, still offers a warranty that you can buy directly through them. But the catcher is you have to run their tune.
Yes.
That's basically what it is. You have to run their tune. So they're going to have that thing so fat that they're going to make sure they're not going to run into any problems whatsoever with it. So,
right. They're going to have it so detuned, and it's one thing that they're going to end up doing. But hey, you put it on the car, you have it the way it is, you run their tune and everything for however long it is. I believe it's probably also 3 year. So you run it however long they want you to, and then once that warranty's gone, hey, I mean, if nothing's happened since then, you know, you might kind of be able to turn it up a little bit. Obviously, get with a tuner and make sure everything's dialed in correctly, because you don't want to go too lean and have a problem. But yeah, you can turn it up from there.
But there are companies that do sell aftermarket tunes. You can look into it, Google it. You'll find companies that actually offer aftermarket warranties. Did I say tunes? Warranties
tunes
for your for modifications that you've done to your vehicle. That's basically what Edelbrock uses, an aftermarket warranty company to do that warranty through.
Yes. So let's get into some of like this easy modifications. A throttle body. This kind of includes the throttle body spacers, the throttle body itself. You know, something simple like that. What is that going to do? That's, you know what, we forgot to talk about the AFM valves. That's a little bit, we talked about that earlier. It's a little bit of a gray area when it comes to throttle bodies, because are you doing anything that's going to heavily modify or heavily break into the motor? You're not really so much. You're just adding a little bit spacer. Like a spacer, typically those are designed to kind of to add a spiral effect and kind of clock the throttle body in a certain position, so that way it allows the more direct airflow. So is that really kind of heavy modification? No, not really. Can a dealership kind of give you hassle over it? Yes, yeah, they kind of can. Do they have a leg to stand on? Probably not so much. That's kind of similar to me like an intake.
That's a gray area.
Yeah.
Throttle spacers are a gray area. I think most times if you pulled into the dealership with the throttle spacer, they're not even going to know it's on there.
Yeah.
You know, they might not, most of the time they're not going to even recognize it. But if they do, it's like really, it's that shouldn't be an item, but there again, it's always up to the dealer that you're dealing with. So it's very important that you get to know a dealer, especially in your area, that works with you. I've taken my car to the dealer before, and I rolled in with.
Ooh, he's breaking out that bottle.
This on there, right? So I rolled in there with the whole nitro setup on the car, but I went in for a starter issue on the 6-jet, okay?
Yeah.
And a fan issue, that's what I rolled in with.
Yeah.
And they gave me no problems because I worked with a dealership that I know understands that, hey, look, we're replacing a starter and we're doing a fan, which
has nothing to do with the nitrous.
Nothing to do with the nitrous whatsoever. Nothing. So that was actually pretty damn nice, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, it also kind of depends on how you guys kind of walk into the dealership. If you kind of walk in demanding, you know, then your dealership might kind of act a certain way. Right. But if you walk in there, hey, look, I know I got this, but this shouldn't cause this. Yeah. Then if you throw the facts at them, then they kind of like, okay, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about. We'll treat him a little differently. So that's always kind of a good thing to kind of do. I always kind of take that same thing when I walk into something. As long as I know what I'm walking into, then I can most likely have it go my way, be it covering a warranty or what have you. You know, so something to think about. Exactly.
So next topic, I think we were going to, did we move on to exterior and body components?
Not yet. We kind of skipped that one just because we're talking about the headers and performance. Okay. But let's go ahead. Exterior body
let's just throw exterior stuff in there right now since we're talking about, because I'll tell you, a lot of guys, they're not doing performance stuff. They're doing exterior. They're doing wheels, tires, and so on and so forth. Styling stuff, the only thing that I could see that you would run into an issue with, and I could be wrong, is that if you rolled in you added some side skirts to it and you had to drill and put them on, and the tabs broke on the inside months down the road and fell off, your side skirt, your side
rocker panel.
Rocker panel, thank you so much. Started falling off at that point, then I would be like, you know, the dealer could say, look, man, your install caused that issue. But majority of the time, it's not going to be the case.
No. With the side skirts, like he's kind of talking about, the side skirts, the manufacturers that develop these side skirts, they really kind of look and see, okay, where's the factory clip going to be? At least most of them do. Now, we have come across those that they didn't pay attention to that. Don't go with those, okay? There's a reason for that. But, you know, like companies like ACS, Street Scene, you know, those guys really kind of pay attention to all the different, the angles, the clips here, there. There's going to be an issue if we go here. There's going to be an issue if we mount it here. Let's avoid that issue and basically make it something simple, easy, so that way when you guys get it, and goes together very easy, now, very nice.
I did say if you put a splitter on the front of your car and you didn't properly mount it and it drags on something and rips the front nose off, you're not getting that warranty. That's let you know that's not happening. So
yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be something that, you know, don't expect.
Don't think people haven't tried.
don't expect, you know, if you're drilling into the car, don't expect paint to be covered.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing. Hey, you're drilling a hole into a spot that wasn't designed for it. Now it's one thing if you have the factory rockers and hey, they had your GM dealer had to put the hole in it so that way they can mount the factory rocker. Then that's before you officially took delivery of the car, so then that's on them. Now, if you lined it up, they didn't have the product and you took delivery anyways and you went back and got it installed, they're still going to cover it because it is a GM product and it is on your invoice. At least it should be. Double check that. You know, so that's one thing that's going to be covered by them, no problem. But anything really kind of aftermarket you got installed by your local shop, or maybe you did it yourself, then paint's really kind of out the door at that point. But
yeah. So that's basically that. Now, I also threw in there wheels as well. Now, when it comes to wheels, what kind of warranty issues could you run into with wheels? On the 6th Gen Camaro, I'll give you a perfect example. If you ran, it's not really wheels, it was more the tire more than anything. On the driver's side, behind,
right here in this area.
Yeah, just point to it.
Right here in this area. I got my wheel here, I got the back half of the car, I got the front half of the car. Now, you're going to have a tough time kind of getting your hand back there because the spot's already tight as it is. But there's a spot back here if you run a large tire. And now this was only for the 2016 to 2017 models, I believe. Because so. I think they caught it because guys were obviously modifying the car. Companies like us were out there talking about it and everything from there. So it's one of the things that GM kind of caught and they went ahead and fixed mid-year of 17, 18, somewhere around there. Don't quote me on it, but somewhere around there. Still, I would still double check if you guys got an 18 or 19. I'd still double check just to be sure. But there's a harness right behind that fender liner
that controls the fuel pump.
Controls virtually the back half of the car. Okay, it's really the back half of the car that really kind of controls everything. But there's a harness that's there, and what's happening is they put a little connector, and it sticks the harness out just enough to push up against the fender liner. And when you're running larger tires, we ran into a 305.
We ran into a 305
35. 305 35. It was a tire that we kind of noticed it on, and what we saw was that the fender liner started to kind of, you know, eat away, like something was rubbing it, you know, started going away. And then we caught it luckily with enough time, and I've seen some guys here lately, they posted saying that, hey, this harness, you know, is completely messed up. Oh, it's unfortunate. I'm sorry for you guys.
You're going to rub a hole through your fender, your fender liner. And then if you don't move that harness, you're going to rub into that harness, and and then you're going to be like, why is my car not starting? And then you'll find out that once it's towed to the dealer, they're going to be like, you put a different tire than factory, and it rubbed through the harness. Yep.
So then there goes your warranty. So there you are with, you know, your 2016, 2017 wider wheels and tires like you want it to look like, and you possibly could have a hole in your wiring harness. So it's something to kind of pay attention. Something like that, wheels and tires, yes, if you go with that issue and maybe you didn't know or you're just learning about it, something to pay attention to depending on the tire size you go with. Pay attention to that harness. It's a simple, quick, and easy check, so it's not something difficult. If you have the tire off right there, obviously you can get to the back of it pretty quick. All we did to fix ours was remove that little
so
connector.
It's basically a body insert piece. Yeah, we would just cut it down, and we actually used ducting tape, taped it to the car. It gives you a 1/4 inch more room between the fender liner and that harness, and basically repositioned it, and we're good.
Yeah, it was enough. I mean, we've been rolling with the car since it's had the same wheels and tires on it, since
17?
17, so yeah. So we've been running it with plenty of time, no issues out of it at all. So if that's something that you're thinking about, definitely kind of go from there.
Okay.
Now, along with wheels and tires, brakes and rotors. Okay, now brakes and rotors, what is that going to do for your warranty? Unfortunately, with your brake components, it's going to kind of send it out the door. Obviously, because you're taking the factory stuff, you're removing it and putting aftermarket stuff on. That really kind of takes your brake warranty or anything. If you go into the dealership and you have the rotors and pads on and you're going for a squealing noise, well, unfortunately, you got something other than factory that's there, so they're going to say, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay the charges if they charge you, or even if they're like, you know what, we're not going to do anything because you already modified it, so you can go ahead and take it on its way and really kind of go from there. So definitely that's something to kind of pay attention to. If you put wheels and brakes and pads, your warranty is most likely gone just because you modified the factory.
Plus, it's a wear item. You're going to replace it anyway. So what really could go wrong with doing brakes? Installation error would be the majority of the problem. More than anything, it would be an installation error. If you had a bad caliper, for the most part, I think you're going to figure that out before your first set of brakes go out.
Yep.
And then at that point, that would probably be covered under warranty. Other past that point, then you're pretty much kind of on your own for the most part. So that's brakes in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah. You can also kind of think of brakes it's kind of like the engine modifications. You put an intake manifold or a cam in it. You cracked open the engine. Well, you cracked open the brake caliper, or not really cracked open the brake caliper, but you took whatever was there out and replaced it with something. So,
if you're a track guy and you basically went to a high performance pad that takes a lot of heat, and you went and you ran it at the track, and it boiled over or it caused a seal to burn out because you just had way too much heat in it, they're not replacing your calipers for that.
No.
Unless you put the factory pads back in and swear up and down that's what caused it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think even on like the Z28, when the Z28 came out, they said they had like a track warranty, and that was only like a kind of limited coverage as far as what those guys were even able to be covered. So they made it difficult for that, even though that was a track-based car. So, if they made it difficult for the Z28 to kind of get covered being a track-based car, well, then, any standard car is probably going to kind of run into the same issue.
Yeah.
So,
moving right along. So, next let's go into suspension. That's a good one to talk about. Suspension. Can suspension void your warranty? It can. It can void your, it can void some of your drivetrain warranty, basically, for the most part. Like, for instance, let's just say you put too low of a spring and it blows out the strut or the shock. They're going to look at that immediately and go, okay, we're not warranting this. So just keep that in mind. That could be something that could void your warranty. Now, on that other hand, I mean, I'm trying to think, what would you do? What could a spring other problem cause? I mean, installation. If you left the sway bar loose in the front and it damaged
end link broke,
they're not warranting that.
Yeah, they're not going to warranty that, especially if they see kind of you touch something. Again, it kind of all goes back to, hey, you cracked that engine open. You kind of modified it from there. So it's really kind of, and for those of you guys that don't know, if you ever do springs, essentially this whole lower control arm down here really kind of has to come out, be it 5th gen or 6th gen. This lower control arm back here really kind of has to come apart. So then you're taking all the geometry and everything that's already kind of set from the factory and you're changing all that. So that's where a lot of that stuff kind of comes in. Now, will a set of springs void your powertrain warranty? No. You're still going to be covered. Your engine transmission, as long as you didn't touch it, you didn't modify it, there should be no reason why you're not covered. So that really kind of springs and coilovers, that's going to affect your suspension warranty. Yeah. So kind of take that into mind. It goes from there.
Yep. I think we covered quite a bit so far.
Yeah.
Anything else you got on your list here?
Let's see. I got interior and I got tuning. So let's kind of go over interior a little bit, just because there's not a whole lot of stuff that's out there for it. But interior, like if you put a set of gauges in your car, let's say like with P3 gauges or the Aeroforce gauges, depending on where you guys want to go, and Aeroforce and P3, they have their vent mounts, so it really kind of depends. But from there, you took the factory vent and went from there. Now, is it going to void your warranty because they operate off the OBD2 port? No. All those gauges are really doing is reading the data that's already being spit out to that OBD2 port and going from there. That's all the gauges are really doing. Now, is there any way for anything to be reversed back into it? Nope. There's really no way for anything to be reversed back into it. If something like that did happen, and I'm just talking hypothetically here, then it's going to cause a short and possibly just blow a fuse at most. That's really it. And then at that point, your data link connector, which is the port, the OBD2 port, that right there is protected on its own circuit, so it's going to pop that fuse, and it's just all you're going to do is not get a readout out of anything.
most likely we've sold hundreds of these and we haven't seen an issue. So
no, like I said,
we're talking about the worst case scenario. You spilt your coffee on it or something.
Yeah, yeah. And even then, if your coffee was sitting on the dash, for it to go all the way down to that OBD2 port, there's a cup holder, man. There's a cup holder right there.
Yeah.
You know, so for that to even like remotely happen, that's just being your way out there. But as far as gauges, accessories that kind of go along with the stuff, so like we have the 4-pack gauges. Is that going to cause a void of a warranty? Most likely not. But like I said, it's just reading the data that's already there. All our harnesses and everything are plug and play, so everything goes right back into the factory location. There's no modifications with any of that. It's just reading what's already there. Seats, if you do race seats, most likely that is going to kind of void some of the warranty. You have your airbags and stuff that are in the factory seats, so kind of pay attention to that. If you have something, if you disconnect something and something ends up happening, let's say you disconnect your airbags, your battery's still connected, and for some possible reason, it's never happened to me. I don't know if it's ever happened to Jason. It's never happened to me, but they always kind of give you this fear. They instill it when you're in school and going through the whole process that if you have your battery connected and you disconnect your airbag, it's going to go off. I've never had that happen, okay? But if it's one thing that they're going to kind of say it's a possibility, okay, well, I don't want an airbag to go off at all.
Yeah.
You know, so if it's one of those things, if you're removing your seat, disconnect your battery. Play it safe. I just don't want anything to happen to you.
True.
But I don't want your dash airbag to go off because you removed your seat. You know, that's the last thing I want to happen.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Yes. Exact same thing.
Yeah, I've heard it. And I've taken a lot of airbags out, and I've never personally experienced it. So, but if you are messing with your airbag, disconnect the battery.
Just disconnect the battery.
Yeah.
Play it safe.
Yeah.
You know, but something like that, yeah, definitely, that is going to kind of, hey, that takes your warranty out the door. So for you autocross guys that want the Recaro seats, you want the Sparco seats, you want everything kind of going along with that, understandably so. It keeps you nice and safe and firm and planted in that seat, so that way you're not sliding back and forth. You got to think about the warranty. So if you guys are taking your 21 and you're going to track it, put those seats in it, your interior warranty might be a little on edge right there. So it's something to kind of think about.
I think the last thing we're going to talk about is tuning.
Yep.
That one gets brought up a lot. We hear that question a lot. If you add a programmer, if you add a tune to your car, is it going to void the warranty? If you get caught.
Elaborate on that. Elaborate on that a little bit.
What I mean by that is,
yes, but it's
so
true.
for instance, like if you have a SET programmer, a Diablo, trifecta tune, something like that, all of those, if you're just using a programmer, they all can be returned back to stock.
Yes.
Now, those tunes aren't made to damage your vehicle. They just didn't go write a tune and say, let's put it in this program and ship it to hundreds of people and say, put it in and then let's deal with the problems later. No, they did hours and days and
months
testing
of testing
on something like that to make sure that it's adequate and it's not going to create any issues. But there again, if you pull into the dealership and you got a programmer laying in the glove box and you didn't put it back to stock tune, yes, that could cause you an issue because they can pull a flash, they can pull a log on your computer and see if it's been updated. So just note to self, they can give you problems about it. So I always recommend putting your stuff back to stock before you go in. Now, obviously, if you have headers or headers or a cam or a supercharger, you're not putting it back to stock. It's just not happening.
That's a long project to put it back to stock.
But if you're an everyday driver and you wanted to put a program in it to get you, pick you up about, some horsepower,
20, 25.
get you some better fuel mileage, then it's easy enough just to revert it back to stock and drive it a little bit and take it to the dealership, and you should be fine without any issues on something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely. That's what I always kind of tell people with the trifecta, the SCT, and the Diablo programmers. If you're planning on going to the dealership, take the extra time out of your weekend before you head over there on Monday. Take the extra time out of your weekend to really just put your factory file back in it. It won't create any problems doing it. But if your dealership gets it, like kind of to elaborate on what he said, if your dealership gets it and they go ahead and pull your file and they try and upload something back into it, let's say, because I know I was at the dealership, I've worked there for a couple of years, and so, and we did this once in a while. If a car came in and it had an update for, let's say, the BCM, or let's say the PCM had an update, there was just an update that was simple, it was easy enough to do, the car was already there, it might have been there for, a recall or what have you. But if there was a BCM or PCM update available, then it was one of those things that we just kind of went ahead and did. You know, it's kind of one of those things that your computer needs an update. You don't want it to happen right now, but you know, if you hit that restart button, it's going to go ahead and take care of it from there, and you're not going to have to worry about it after that restart.
True.
Same thing. Car was already there. Why not go ahead and take care of it, so that way the customer does not have to come back and take care of this again when we notify them that there's an update, because it was already there. Go ahead and do it. So if they do that and your tune is in there, then it could potentially lock up, and that's where the kind of everyone gets scared about. It's just because it only has the one file and it's not reading the correct file, so that way it can be uploaded.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. So, range. Also kind of talking about range, tuning. The range products. Go ahead.
The range. I don't know if y'all have seen the range. We have them on the website, and they have like 2 different ones that you can use. They have an AFM Plus and an AFM Delete. With disabler, I should say, disabler, which basically plugs right into the OBD2 port. And you guys that are going from 4-cylinder, 8-cylinder, 4-cylinder, and it's annoying, that actually gets rid of it. So that's, and what's nice about the range, it plugs right in. You're not actually downloading a tune into your vehicle. What you're doing is you're plugging it right in, and it's circulating through there, and say, hey, look, keep it from going to 4 cylinders, from 8 cylinders. And what's nice about the range is you can just unplug it, and it doesn't leave a footprint.
Perfectly explained.
Yeah, and that's even from Range's documentation. So I have one in my Camaro, I have one in my truck. And
for those of you guys that are kind of, and we see it out there, you guys are like, oh, it's snake oil. No, those things work.
They work.
They work. You know, so if you're looking to get a little bit better gas mileage, let's say you're going on a trip, okay? Yeah. You're going across the country, you're going across state lines, you're going to be in the car for a couple hours. Plug one of those in, it's going to help you out your fuel mileage.
AFM Plus. The AFM Plus is definitely going to help you with getting more fuel mileage out of it. So if you're an everyday driver and you're trying to figure out how can I get a little extra fuel savings out of my Camaro, check out that Range AFM Plus. It'll save you some money.
And it's one of those things that you don't need to worry about resetting anything, disconnect this, disconnect that. No, plug it in. Done. It's literally an installation. If you guys haven't been to our YouTube channel, there is an installation video on there, and all it really is, it's 2 minutes long. Yeah. You just see me talking about it, and you plug it in, and you're done. So something simple, easy.
Range is nice.
It is. It really is. Let's see here. That's about it.
So basically, we're going to end on this. If you're running into problems with your dealership, really know, or your warranty company, you really need to know your rights. And there's a thing called the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act. That's something you can Google and you can look up and find out exactly what it covers. So basically what it says, like, look, even though there's a warranty out there, if they can't really make a true facts to say that this actually caused the problem, you can fight that. So it's something you might want to get your insurance company involved in if it's like really, you know, catastrophic where you lose an engine. You know,
definitely. So that's one of those things that, you know, if they can't prove that, that's really kind of the foundation of a warranty. If they can't prove whatever product you put on caused the issue, then you might want to look up that Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, and it really kind of, you can be protected from there. So take a look at it. But that's what we got for you guys today. Anything else? Any other questions? See here. We got Matt and Mike going back and forth about different things.
Man, y'all can call each other on the phone. Right. Hey, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. Ben, Santiago, Mike, Matt.
All you guys.
Yeah, all you guys. Tony.
All good stuff. All good stuff. You know, I'm glad we can kind of do this and kind of go over the warranty, and hopefully it helps you guys out understand your warranty a little bit better, and as far as what you can do, how far you can go, and because I know I like to avoid the warranty as soon as I get a car.
It happens.
That's me.
If you have any questions, you can always send us messages on Facebook. We answer those. Instagram, give us a phone call, however you want to go about doing it.
Email, phone call, Instagram, Facebook, like you said. I mean, anywhere you guys can reach us.
Contact page on the website.
Definitely. So again, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next time, where we're going to cover probably something else other than warranty, but hopefully we'll kind of give you guys some good information so you guys understand these Camaros a little bit better. We'll try and have a Corvette here next time.
Yeah. We're modders, so we want to make sure you're protected as much as we are.
Definitely, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.